I'm Imke, and I'm here on behalf of the team of AIRA, Artificial Intelligence and the Rights of Autistic People. So this is not by no means my work exclusively. As you see here on the first slide, this is our current team. We are recruiting more people for for the rest of the project. So okay, yeah. So this is the agenda, but I think I go straight into my talk because there's not that much time and it's more material. It proved to be quite complex to shorten this. So who are we as UCAP? We're the European Council of Autistic People, which means that we are an umbrella organization of autistic-led organizations in Europe. Which and Europe is defined geographically, so it includes non-EU countries as well, meaning that the UK didn't have to leave, unfortunately, which all of us were happy about. We're quite recent, or they could join because we've only been founded in 2019, and we aim to promote the welfare of autistic individuals in Europe through participation in public discourse, by networking with politicians, policymakers and other stakeholders, and by supporting cooperation of autistic groups across borders. So it's very much about international cooperation and networking. It's important that this means autistic-led, so the organizations which are members with us are allowed to have non-autistic individual members, but the organizations have to be dominated and led by autistic people. So it's very much about self-advocacy, which is central for us. Currently, we have 27 member organizations in 17 countries, and we represent. I thought I corrected this. This still says 2,000, but now it's 2,500 members. And one moment. Yeah. So the AIRA project was initially started out as a 2-year project to 24, but now it has a 1-year extension to 2025, and it combines academic research and activism. It's funded by the European Artificial Intelligence and Society Fund, and its aims are assessing the use of AI-assisted technology in research pertaining autism, mapping the attitudes of the European autistic community towards AI, and develop capacity of member organizations and the wider autistic community in Europe to advocate for autistic people in matters related to AI or machine learning, and to influence policies, legislation, research and industry. So it's quite ambitious actually for a project which is paid, but where I have to add that all of us have other jobs. So it's something while we get some compensation for this, it's still something we're doing on the side because we think it's important. So I'm mainly talking about year 1, or rather also even just one project in year 1. And so year 1 focused on academic research. We're 6 autistic researchers from 6 European countries, and actually one of my colleagues is here in the audience with them, Silke from Denmark, so we are all from different countries. And we have different academic and professional backgrounds, and for example, psychology, biology, linguistics, cultural studies, IT and pedagogy. And so it's not just that all of us are autistic, but it's decidedly interdisciplinary, which is at least as important for this kind of work in our experience. We also work in collaboration with Professor Dr. Ilse Nons, who is a professor of psychology and educational sciences at KU Leuven, the university in Belgium, because actually one of our team members, Kat van der Poorten, is de MA with Ilse, and through this we could get an academic affiliation, which is nice and really useful for resources, and also because we could go through ethics with our material, and also then it gives us the option to publish in academic journals, which in order for sort of credentials in this field is quite important. but at the same time that we are funded at all as an advocacy organization to do academic research is quite unusual and quite innovative. So it's something we're very happy to have been given this opportunity. So the first year of AIRA, a main product of this is a systematic review focusing on literature on the use of AI in autism diagnosis, therapeutic interventions, biomedical research, and augmenting and alternative communication in the context of autism. So we decidedly wanted to cover the fields which are sort of where AI has really become dominant in recent years, but we didn't want to have a purely negative focus, but see what would be kind of like the potentials for advocacy. And the other sort of branch of this first year, which I will be mainly talking about, is an online survey on European autistic people's knowledge, perception, and needs concerning AI or machine learning. So just a very brief glimpse into the review. It's we found 1,070 articles in total, and the main fields are diagnosis, interventions, and biomedicine, kind of advocacy, self-help, sort of work, and sort of how this can be used to actually raise the quality of life, and independence and autonomy is really, while there are some articles, it's really quite scarce. There could definitely be more research in that field. And so this is just to briefly show how there has been a really kind of exponential increase in publications since 2016-17. So this has become hugely popular, and it's become a big thing in research in recent years. So I think I skipped those for time reasons and go to the survey. So the survey was live on WebReport from 1st of October to 31st of December 2023. And it was available in English, Dutch, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and Finnish. And results were translated into and then analyzed in English by sort of largely 4 members of our team. And we had both quantitative and qualitative questions, including validated autism questionnaire and open questions, which generated the qualitative data. And our participants so we received answers from 294 autistic adults living in Europe. And those included individuals with a formal diagnosis, but also some individuals who declared that they were seeking a diagnosis, and also some who were self-identified. And we did this on purpose because in Europe, but also within countries, like in Germany, for example, within regions, sort of accessibility of medical or formal diagnosis is really differs. In some places, it's quite sort of I wouldn't say it's easily available at all, because there are still long waiting lists. But there are regions where it's kind of more or less impossible. So for that reason, we think that self-diagnosis and self-identification can be valid. So this is the first thematic map, which so to see how this our qualitative analysis worked. So me and another colleague coded, who actually she had a full-time job for a certain time on this project. So we coded the qualitative material and then identified codes and made them into themes, and then sort of those were then turned into thematic maps. And this is one question. I won't show you all, but this is a question on the most important ethical issues in AI in general. And you can see that the people who sort of filled in the survey were really concerned about misuse, and they sort of they wrote that regulation was really unnecessary. They felt that privacy and security might be at stake. The potential increase of existing inequalities was a major issue, which many people concerned for this question, but also for the AI and autism. So that was a really central theme. But they also wrote about the improvement and development of AI and how it might be kind of developed in ways which so that you would have personalized tools which would actually improve people's autonomy, and for them to use them sort of in emancipatory ways as a tool. I think that was really important. So here are some just to give you some examples of what people wrote. Those are some quotes on the need for regulation of AI. So these are some quotes. I won't have the time to read all of them, on the fear or the concern that the use of AI might increase existing inequalities. And this, for example, capitalism as an issue, and how sort of it will widen the gap between classes, and loss of human creativity. So there were sort of several issues from different fields, which and socioeconomic division, that was a really central one, and also how sort of access to diagnosis and to human support might be at stake. So this is another one on which asks about concerns and opportunities, and I gave here I've given you the opportunities thematic kind of submap, because the one which covers both opportunities and concerns is too complex for this. And so the use of AI as a support tool is something like wearable technology, but also kind of complementing human provided services was quite central, and users were quite decided on how this could be used to complement human services but not replace them. So that was a really important issue, that people shouldn't be sent to kind of AI for therapy, for counseling, for pedagogy, whatever, for medical treatment, because it's cheaper, but that human support should always be an option. And so in that field, the increase of existing inequalities was really central as well. So, for example, like if you're kind of told to use an AI system rather than having someone like a human being to talk to, that this might actually increase loneliness. That was something which came up quite a few times as well. And also kind of the whole economic issue of giving us technology instead of trained professionals is something where people saw in sort of ethical issue, and also which is quite central, sort of training and programs which are intended to transform an autistic person into a kind of a neurotypical or non-autistic person. That's something which was seen as fundamentally wrong and reprehensible, and that was something like, because there are therapies which try to kind of train and condition autistic people to actually act like a non-autistic person, and that was something which people really took issue with, and quite understandable so. So what was something really interesting and quite encouraging is how people actually advocated for community involvement, and both for kind of involving the autistic community, but also other marginalized or minority communities, but also particularly autistic researchers, engineers, developers, so that people who do live with a condition which is the research is about should not only be asked, but specialists and professionals in that field who are autistic as well should be involved. And I think that's a really important issue, which people were quite really stressed. Also, when they were asked about how you could make sure that AI is used ethically in autism research, practices and diagnoses, autistic community involvement really came up central. Yeah, regulation was central, as it was in other fields. It was never what people were quite decided on was that the AI device should never have the sort of ultimate decision, but that this should be left to human beings, and that it's they were not against it in any way, but that in a way it should always be a tool and never used. Never decide by itself, and people actually question how this would work anyway. So here you can see some quotes on community involvement as well. And then also they were concerned, I don't know whether I've given you quotes about that as well, given the existing inequalities, that for people for whom it's already at the moment, as it is, it's more difficult to get a diagnosis, like everyone who doesn't conform to the kind of white cis male middle class type, which autism is kind of often associated with, like in the media, but also in research. That for everyone who doesn't sort of is for whom this type doesn't apply, would make it even harder to get a diagnosis, because if diagnostic AI is trained on kind of like the average and those kind of like cliches and stereotypes, it would be actually increase biases and in a way that might be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that was an issue as well. However, our study also has limitations because our sample is not representative of all autistic people in Europe, partly because the ability to fill in an online survey in one of the languages available was necessary to participate. Unfortunately, we only had a limited number of languages just for our own resources for which we could make the survey available. And we did have participants with a wide age range, which was between 18 and over 60, or over 61. But at the same time, in other respects, our sample is not very diverse at all in respect to ethnic and educational backgrounds, for example. And there it's important to keep in mind that bias in diagnosis, as I mentioned, is partly responsible, but also, of course, our own networks and whom we had access to in our resources. And also participants were largely recruited through our member organizations. So autistic people who are not active in those contexts were harder to reach, and I'm not sure how many of them actually took part in the survey. Well, to our findings, AI is largely seen as a tool open to both misuse and emancipatory users. It can increase autonomy, healthcare, and access to diagnosis. But to be supportive, it has to center individual characteristics and needs, and it mustn't work from kind of like an imaginary average. And also, inbuilt bias and over-reliance on AI can limit access to diagnosis, human support, and increase inequalities. So people also voice concerns about further marginalization and the need for regulation and supervision. That was a major theme. But really the main theme was this need for community involvement. I think that's really something which came out at the heart of our study, which I think is really... For us, was a really good experience and a really good finding. So year 2 and 3, don't worry, I won't cover those in detail, but just to mention what's coming up. So we're developing a training and teaching material for autistic advocates in Europe to raise awareness on AI and to impact politics, policymakers, research, and so on. But we're also liaising with other projects. For example, there's an Erasmus Plus project called Digital for All, which is about digital accessibility for people with learning difficulties, because those for those the survey in most cases probably was not that accessible. So we're trying to make up for that with sort of liaising with this project. But still it's important that we also would say that nothing about us without us. So every sort of research which impacts autistic people has to center and include autistic people, not as subject but as participants. So thank you for your attention.